Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce a dear friend and an undisputed expert in her field, Simran Samantani, the director and managing partner of Excel Accounting. Why is Simran here today? She's here because, first of all, I requested her to share her nuggets of knowledge, but also because she's a passionate advocate for empowering women, especially those facing financial challenges. In today's ever changing job market, she believes in providing women with a structured approach and a mindset shift to plan for a genuine financial freedom that they want to achieve for themselves and their families. It is whatever, whether whether you're currently employed, seeking a job, or even just simply navigating the uncertainties of life. Simran's insights and this 30-minute session will be invaluable for you. Her expertise will equip you with the confidence to overcome any obstacle and thrive in the face of financial challenge. So, without further ado, let me welcome Simran Samtani to share her wisdom and guidance with all of us. Your journey to financial empowerment begins here. And, and don't forget, you'll have the opportunity to meet Simran and many other speakers that have gone live with me in the previous week and more, and the speakers that are there at Careers Day by its survey on 22nd of November at Aloft Hotel, Dera Creek, Dubai, where you can further enrich your knowledge and network with inspiring women like Simran. Simran, over to you.
Thank you so much, team, for having me here. I normally speak to entrepreneurs, and it's an opportunity that I get to speak to people who are transitioning in their career. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Truly appreciate it. So what I'm sharing with everyone here today is that we all spend a lot of time at work, whether it's our own business, whether we're working for someone, and the idea is that we want money. Why do we want money? Money to have a better life for ourselves. We have dreams which only money can accomplish. Okay, so everybody's dreams are different. And when you're working, whether you are earning 3,000 dirhams or whatever you start with, and whether you're earning 30,000 and your journey, what happens is our expenses expand to fulfill whatever we are making. So the idea is not to let the money just flow, control your finances, and not let our finances control us, and help us and use our jobs, our business, whatever is the tool that we're using to make money, actually be a vehicle to give us the life of our dreams. And that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about 5 steps that can take you to the dream life that you would want in whatever format that you're working. Armin, can you share the slides, please? Thank you so much. So, what I'm going to be sharing today are 5 steps to get consistent cash to fulfill your dreams. It starts with clarity, connecting the dots, charting our course to reach there, building financial confidence to ensure we get consistent cash regularly, and whatever we need to do with that money then. If you ask yourself 5 questions, you'll say, I want money. But if you keep going and asking yourself the 5 whys of why you need money, and you'll realize that it has nothing to do with money. It could be giving your children the best education you can give, it could be giving your parents a lifestyle that they had to sacrifice while they were bringing us up, it could be things that you could do, it could be experiences. And note that sometimes these experiences can also be gifted to you. Be clear on where you want to go. So, as we talk about clarity, there are 2 things one we need to be clear about. Okay. But before we go there, I want to ask each one of yourself a question. What is your relationship with money? Number one, in a serious relationship, I know where I want to go and I know how I'm going to get there. Number two, it's complicated. I know what I want to do, I know where I want to get, but I don't have a roadmap or a defined roadmap to take me there. And number three, don't even talk to me. I don't even want to see it. I don't even look at it because I fear money. Today's journey is to move you from fear to faith in your finances. Wherever you are, you know exactly where you are in these 3 questions. All I want to tell you is wherever you are, acknowledge it, accept it. The only way from here is forward. Okay, we've all heard of this word called freedom. All of us want freedom. What does freedom mean to you? Do you want financial freedom? Do you want location freedom? I want to work from anywhere I want, wherever I want. I can work from anywhere and everywhere. Number three, do I want time freedom? Time to do whatever I want to do. I want to be flexible. Number four, people freedom. Normally, they say that people don't leave jobs, people leave managers. So whatever it may be, you may like what you're doing, but you may not like who your bosses are or whatever it might be. And it could be maybe I want all these freedom. Since we're talking money today, let's talk about financial freedom. And some people said if I get financial freedom, probably I will get everything else. I can get time freedom, location freedom, and if I have the money to do what I want to do. So, my question to you next is if you want financial freedom, do you have a number? Do you know what your financial freedom number is? Most of the people that I have asked these questions, the answer is no. And even if I keep telling you, okay, think, tell me something, give me some number, you'll give me a random number. Okay, the random number could be millions of dollars, billions of dollars, not having thought about why that number is important to you. But believe me, it will be a big number, it will be a large number. And if I ask you, why did you choose a large number? I just thought it was big enough. Big enough for whom? What you want in your life, what was it I want in your life, what was somebody else in our life, is very, 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 very different. So the number that will help me be fulfilled or happy would be very different from what will make you fulfilled or happy. If you want to say retire in the USA, it would cost you a different amount. If you want to retire in India, it would cost you a different amount. Want to retire in the UK or the UAE, it would be different amounts. So what is that big enough amount mean to you? So I was attending a course by Tony Robbins, Unlimited Power Within, and he had 20 billionaire friends. 20, and only four of them were happy. Billionaires, millionaires, are everybody happy? No. They have all the money. They have financial freedom, and they can with that get time freedom, money freedom, etc. But important thing to note over there was they were not fulfilled. So, what is it that brings you joy? There's a time that a simple cup of tea or coffee brings us happiness, and it doesn't cost you much. Time spent with our family brings us happiness, which does not cost us too much. So, it's important to take a step back and think, what is it that gives us fulfillment? What is it that brings us joy? Let your money flow where the joy flows. Right? So spend that time and say that, okay, if I would want to retire in a next country, and if I want to send my children to X school, maybe I want to travel around the world in first class, maybe I want to, whatever are your dreams, list out your entire desire list, put a money figure around it, and that would be your aspirational goal. And whatever is that aspirational goal, our current job, our current business is a vehicle that will take us to that aspirational goal. Now, if you don't know what that number is and you need to start at some point, some financial planner says that take your total expenses off today, whatever are your personal expenses, multiply that by 200. That should be an amount that should be saved somewhere, giving you a 6% interest. If you're risk averse and bringing it down to a lower interest rate, you'll increase the multiple of 200 to 250, 300, whatever. But the idea is if you have that money, that's going to give you an interest that will cover your expenses without you having to work for it. That is a number that you would do. You can use this as a starting point, start filling in the rest, and figure out where your aspirational goal is. While you're looking at your aspirational goal, what's also important is today to know where you are. Step number one is to know where you are in terms of your expenses. If you don't know, my recommendation is take your last 3 or 4 credit card bills, bank statements, whatever, and list down your expenses that you've been making month on month and month. So that will give you where you are today, and the aspirational goal will give you where you want to be. And then that is the clarity. Two things that I want to know is where you are today on your finances and your expenses, where is it that you want to go. So once we have both these figures, we will have a gap, and we need to be now starting to connect these dots. Now Steve Jobs says that you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect the dot looking backwards, and which is why we have the aspirational figure which we need to work on. It's important to go back and dream about your desires and your list and put everything in so that you can have your dream life, so that you are working towards it step by step, one step at a time. So imagine a GPS. Imagine you're going into your car. If you step out of wherever you are today, step into your car, and you then put your next location, what the GPS does is it automatically identifies where you are today. So that point is identified. In our case, in our finances, we need to identify it and keep monitoring it as we go along. And you find the next spot, which is your aspirational goal, and then the GPS will calculate the fastest way you can reach there. Same thing in our life. If we know where we are going, we can be able to identify the opportunities that will come our way and grab it. Two people wanting the same things, there will be something on the road that your dream car will pass you by. You will not even notice because your radar, you're so bogged down with your everyday stresses. But if you're clear of where you want to go, sometimes the GPS will give you a shorter route that you didn't even know existed and take you there faster. Also remember, it's not just the GPS will take you the faster route, but one thing, while we are on this journey, there will be bumps as well, there will be speed breakers as well, and these are to help us and guide us move towards our goal. So what I want to report is, when you're moving into this journey, also remember that you need to have commitment, be consistent in your efforts, and have the courage to move on even when things get difficult, because there's your dream there still waiting for you. Okay, so that's the way we will need to connect our dots. From connecting our dots, we will now know where we are, we know where we want to go. So now let's chart a course, let's chart what's the best way that it will take us to reach there. Okay, so, before I go and explain, I want to explain two concepts, right? Why is it that we see that so many people, why is it that even when I'm earning 3,000 dirhams, when I entered into this country X number of years back, and even if I'm starting at the lowest point, I manage my expenses in those points. Okay, as and when my salary increases from 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 50 to 100, what happens? I'm still not being able to save, most of the people. So, what happens there? So what happens is you start buying better cars, more expensive cars, living in a bigger house, eating at expensive restaurants. It's still food, it's still car, it's still a residence, but our lifestyle moves on and goes to the next level. So now there are two concepts that I want to bring to your mind so that you understand how we work psychology. Number one is axioms, which is a fact that we believe whatever to be true that is given to us. Okay, that's the concept, and that is why accounting formulas for business will say sales minus expenses equal to profit. So what you do, you earn same thing. If I apply to income, I earn income, I start making expenses. If anything is left, it'll be my savings. Okay, I want you to think and flip this formula and say sales minus investment is equal to expense. Okay, so what you're doing is nothing is changing mathematically in this formula, but what is changing, everything is changing psychology so that you can keep money for your future self. Okay, so you first take some money out of your investments. For people who have children, start doing this. Well, they start investing in a children's education plan, they start getting insurance policies. But if it's just you or just a couple who don't have children, they just go on with life without really planning for the future. So it's important to understand that this is because we believe that this is how it's supposed to be done. The second concept that I want to share with you is called Parkinson's law, which basically says that as the supply increases, our demand expands to fulfill the entire supply. This is so true in terms of time and money. If you're given 20,000 dirhams to do a project, you will find a way to do it in 20,000. If you're given 100,000 dirhams, you will spend the whole 100,000 dirhams. Then somebody says, oh, now the budget is slashed to 20,000. You'll find creative ways, as human beings, we'll find creative ways to manage it in 20,000. The same thing happens with time. Children, lastminute.com. When are we studying for exams? When are we doing the project? Lastminute.com. You may have 1 month to do the project, but when the submission comes the last week, we are hustling and trying to finish that project. So this is psychology. So the concept of profit first that I'm licensed to offer, and I train entrepreneurs on this concept, what it does is it tells you to leverage psychology and rather than logic. So let's leverage our habits to make sure that it's working for us, not against us. All right, so these are the two concepts on which the profit first methodology is based. So now that we are clear, we have clarity, we have connected our dots, and we have charted our course. We found out the way how we are going to chart the course, and we're going to add financial confidence and work on charting our course further and move forward. So, in confidence, what I want to share with you is a concept where it says give every dollar a job. So, every single dirham or dollar that comes to you should give you a return on your investment. It should make it work for you. So in your mind, what I want to do is change the figure of expense to investment. Okay, every expense, think of it as an investment and see what is your return on investment. Where's the money going? Is the money going on learning that you're investing in yourself? Same thing with time. Shift that word and say, how, if I invest in it, is it going to give me my time back? Is it going to make my life easy? Is it going to help me get more time for my family? So whether I'm spending on gadgets, what am I spending on? Whether I'm spending on help so that I have a cook at home or I have a cleaner at home, so that time doesn't go from me but it goes to my family. Am I learning so that I can get a promotion and get better salary? So understand where your money is going. Okay, and what I want to also share with you is, now it's a concept that makes it very clear on how whatever you're earning, you're going to split up. So Profit First tells us to open 5 accounts. I'm giving you how we will use this for our personal finances, and it can be 4 accounts, or bank accounts allow you to open sub accounts. I'm not going asking you to go and open 5 different accounts. In the olden days, and in what Profit First talks about, used to be envelopes. Our mothers, our grandmothers in the olden days put envelope because the amount was fixed, and you say, okay, this money will go for the maid salary, this money will go for entertainment. So you budget it in advance and put it in envelopes. Think of it in terms of envelopes. If you want to use cash envelopes, use cash envelopes. Use it as sub accounts where you split the account from where you see. Don't do bank balance accounting, but you see less money, you will spend less money. So you start putting it. So if you and your spouse have different uh, bank accounts, you can open sub accounts and you can put it in separate bank accounts. So now the first important thing is one account where all your income is coming in. So don't just use one account to start spending money and say you see money in the account and you spend it. No, what we need to do is keep one account which is called the vault account, which is for your emergency fund. So what happens if you were to lose your job? What happens if you want to open a side hustle and start doing it on part time? What if you want to now start leaving your job and starting your own business? Whatever it is in your dreams, wherever your next steps are, where will you get the money for doing that? So you now need to start putting that money aside. In COVID, so many people lost their job. So what would you do if you were to lose your job? You need to start putting money in an emergency fund. My recommendation is the 1% magic, where you take 1% of your salary and start putting it aside right now. That's a minimum everybody can do. If you're making 1,000 dirhams, one, you will not lose that, miss the, if you're doing 100 dirhams, you'll not miss one. You're doing 1,000, you'll not miss 10. If you're doing 10,000, you'll not miss the 100. So putting that aside, you'll not miss it at all. If you can do that easily, add one more percent to it in 1 month or in 3 months, depending on where you are in your journey. But what is important to do is, how much emergency fund is enough for people that are working? 1 month's expenses, 2 months expenses, 3 months expenses, 1 year's expenses, one salary. So wherever you start from, go to first fulfilling your 1 month expenses, then go and add your 1 month salary as a backup, then go and add your 2 months expenses or 2 months salary. So put these milestones so that if you want to leave your job anytime the situation is not, you know that you have enough of 3 to 4 months of salary, so that you have that time without worrying to look for a new one or to start your own business or use that money for a side hustle, whatever that might be. Okay, so that is what I'm talking about, is vault expense. The second one that I'm sharing is your recurring expenses, which in running a household, you would make a list. Again, look at all your bank statements, look at all your expenses you've done in the last 6 months, and look at all the recurring expenses, which could be utility bill payments, rent, or whatever is going, online subscriptions, whatever your recurring expenses would be. The third would be day-to-day expenses, which is running of your house, which could be clothes, which could be school fees, which would be groceries, which could be any home repair, etc. Okay, so these are the expenses that you anyway have to incur. And then the last case is for people that have debt. We need to have a debt destroyer plan, a debt crush strategy. If that's not there, start putting more into your emergency fund. So now somebody will say, I'm in debt. What should I do? Should I start an emergency fund or should I destroy debt? My answer to you will be an emergency fund first. At least bring your emergency fund to $1,000 before you start looking at debt destruction plan. We don't have time to go through the debt crush strategy, but there's a whole strategy, and if anybody needs that assistance, can reach out to me and I can guide you through it. Now there are different formulas where you would say how much money needs to go into each of it. So whatever is your income, I'm sharing two formulas with you. Dave Ramsey mentions that 50% of your income should go on your wants. Wants, which are wants, okay, not your needs. Sorry, your needs, not your wants. 50% should go to needs, your basics, your food, your shelter, everything basic that you need. Wants would be, he says you should put 30% for your wants and 20% should go in your savings, investment, emergency fund, etc. That's a 40-30-20 rule. Somebody would have heard it. There's another guy called Scott Pay who's written a book as well, and his formula is 60% should go in your needs, 10% should go into your treat account, which is again he's putting 20% in wants and not 30% in wants, where he's splitting it up. 10% into your treats, which could be your short term expenses, a treat out with your friend, a fine dining place, and 10% for your long term, which is what makes you happy, your long term needs, which could be having a staycation, a vacation, and all of that. And 20% still remains for your investments, savings, and letting your money work for you. So, this is basic formula. Work out what works for you, but what we need to do is put that money aside before we start putting expenses. So put the 20% if you can. If not, start with the 1% formula I've told you to put it in saving and investment. Then start keeping some money aside for your wants and make sure that whatever you're choosing, the 50 or the 60, is you're not going beyond that in your expenses. That's very important to remember. You don't go beyond that percentage. If you have two double income, then you can choose to save one income completely and then work with the other income, which is that 50% will come. But look at how we can leverage this. But it's important is, if you don't put that money aside, it will get spent, and then later on we'll regret, oh, where did that money go? So it's important to be very, very cautious and intentional. It's important, I love the word intentional, be intentional on where the money is flowing. Okay, and again, I will repeat something that's very important to me. Let your money flow which on things and experiences that bring you joy, not to compare it with someone else, not just to be, to be looked upon what somebody else wants you to look. Just because my friend is doing, I may not enjoy what my friend is doing. I can still spend time with my friends on the common things we have. We are all not the same. So just make sure that you're letting your money flow only on things and experiences that are bringing you happiness and bringing you joy and are giving you fulfillment. Once we do this, and we make sure that every time we are questioning ourselves that it's an investment and not an expense, and that is what will lead us to making sure we are having consistent cash in our lives and giving us our dream lifestyle. And if we have that, we first need to freeze it, stop taking anymore, then crush it, and then do it logically, do it with any help that you may have, and move forward. That is it from me, Armin. That's my link tree. If anybody wants to follow me on my social media, and you can go there and follow me.
Always an interesting one. Always learning something new with that presentation of yours.
Thank you.
I think I just have one question about debt.
Okay.
A lot of us, at least in this region, they when they are between jobs, one of the challenges they have and one of the traps that they fall into or feel like they are trapped in
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
debt. Because when they've been in a secure job, they've taken on more debt, and now they are probably out of jobs or uh, in between or not sure where they're going next. How would you recommend solving that kind of situation, especially when they're in between?
Sure. So first thing what I want to share is, money and the word debt comes with a lot of emotions involved to it. Okay. If we first need to handle our emotions before we can look at a logical way to solve it. Now, what I would want to say is we can't go and change our past. Okay. The word debt comes from the word death. The word mortgage comes from morgue. Okay, so you can imagine where those connotations are coming. So don't call it those words in the first place. Okay, call it past expenditures. I like to call it past expenditures. What we've done in the past is done. Okay, beating yourself about it is not going to change it. Right now, we need to learn from it. We accept it that this has been done. Okay, we acknowledge it. We figure out and find out how much it is. Okay, spend that time because people don't want to look into it. Gets them into a depression. So first step is take any help. It could be a family member, could be someone who you can be open to, or an help from outside, but first identify how much that is. Okay, once we've identified, we need to stop it. We need to make sure that we now know that we make a list of what is important, what is essential for us right now, which means giving up a certain kind of lifestyle for a short period of time so that we can be at peace. At the end, we want peace of mind, right? And that is not giving you peace of mind. It's not making you feel good. You may go and smile outside with your friends, but inside it's hurting you. So step number one is understand and say that I choose not to go. You want to go, but you're choosing not to go just for a temporary period of time. So you freeze it.
Right.
Okay, number one, you have to find out a way that you're not taking any more debt. Number two is what we need to do is, again, there are two methods to crush debt, but I'll only talk about one method which is psychologically acceptable. And if someone wants, I'm going to be sharing that in some videos later on my social media. You list out all your debt, which is called, again, Dave Ramsey's method. It's called the snowball effect. List it out from the smallest debt to the highest debt, irrespective of the interest rate you're paying. Because as psychologically, your mind believes that if I can give this away, so you start cutting the smallest one. So once you finish your smallest debt, then you feel good. You're motivated to go the next way. The other method is called the avalanche, but you take the highest interest. Now, in case you get a bonus, then you take a big debt with highest interest and close it off. So I'm not saying you can follow one method, but all of a sudden you win a lottery, you win a bonus in your job, you got a bonus at the end of the year and you've done it. You use that money to encourage. So what you do in the formula that I said, just look at your expenses. Okay, that's the minimum that you will need to spend, which is on your needs. If you can bring some expenses down, that's great, but that's what you will use for your salary. Everything else, and put something on emergency fund, because you never know when you would need that, for your health issues or whatever. Put some money aside and then start using everything else to put your debt out. So you start taking from your smallest debt and going, because you believe in winning. So the smallest debt could be very small. Okay, and then what you have to do, if you have multiple cards, there are methods, there are people that will give you a debt consolidation if you're eligible for it. But sometimes the debt is more bigger in our mind than it is on paper. Once we start putting it
Sure.
on paper, and once you start putting a small one off, then that amount you add, because you've understood that much you can remove from your pocket. You'll add more to it, and automatically you'll be able to crush everything else.
Mhm.
We've seen so many case
Great.
studies. It is just needing that little guidance, a little bit of discipline, and small habits. Just even if you're doing it by 100 dirhams, 200 dirhams, but the whole idea is how much can I remove, and make it a game. Bring fun.
Thank you. Thank you for that. What interested me in the beginning of your conversation was the 3,000 and 30,000 income.
Yeah.
It's very surprising that you say that even if you're earning a 3,000 dirhams, or even if you're earning a 30,000 dirhams, which is 10 times more, you will still not, if you've not planned for it correctly, you will still not be able to save. I'd like you to probably delve on that and just probably demystify the concept of what you're trying to say there, because it's very interesting when I speak to people and individuals who've had high paying job, and probably through COVID they've lost them, and they say that they haven't had any savings. Simultaneously, when I'm speaking to individuals who are on day to day pay wages, who are on much lower proportions, they say the same thing: I'm fine, I can go for 3 more months. And the people who are at the higher pay grades are not. It's very, very interesting, and I'd really want you to talk about this from a perspective of a female who's probably not the first or the primary income owner, at least in this market. A lot of women over here who are in between jobs or trying to run a business, they primarily are not the, if they're married, they're not the sole income earner of the household. How do you think they should dabble with that mindset? Because sometimes they'll just take on more debt, or they'll just take on somebody else's debt, which is their significant others. It all culminates into that whole thing, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, you know what? Everything is so flashy, right? Everything is so shiny. So people are running behind shiny objects. Just because my friend has X car, I mean, the car is still going to drive you from one place or the other. And I'm not saying you don't upgrade your life as your salaries increase, but is that the car that you enjoy driving? Maybe not. Okay, so sometimes what happens is, if I have money in my account and I see the money in my account, I will go and say, okay, I want the most expensive television, but it may not be
Hmm.
having all the features. But if I go back feature by feature, I may get something that is perfect at a lower cost. So I need to first spend time in my inner self, finding out what is important to me. And a lot of time, I think it's all about comparison. It's all about, I want to move to a bigger house. And there are times when people, more than what their expenses far exceed the income that they have. Okay, and because of a
Exactly.
aspirational lifestyle that they still can't afford. It's lovely to have
Yes,
aspirations, but it's
absolutely.
not
Yes.
important to take on debt to get those aspirations. Now, I'm not saying all debt is for aspiration. Some debt could be for, medical reasons, and some. I'm not saying all debt is bad also. Okay, but we need to identify, where is that money going, where is that debt going. If that debt is to put an in an investment that will yield me more returns, then it's still okay. But it depends on what that debt is for. And when, especially when you're talking about the ladies, that there are two incomes, or they're not the primary bread earner, but they have aspirations for the future. Okay, they have aspirations for their children. They need to have a goal for what they're saving. And in, like, in the olden days, like my mother and my mother-in-law, they had never worked. And I know many of my other relatives, they'd never worked. It was only the husbands that were the primary bread earners at that time, and they would get an X amount to spend for the house. Believe me, they would save a lot more, and they would help their
Interesting.
husbands at that time when they needed it. It was
Yeah.
from the house money. They've learned to put that envelope system.
Yes.
Today everybody is earning, and everybody wants an aspirational lifestyle, and which is
Yes.
where this is going. But if you're using budgeting, and you budget, what is it that I want, what is it I can spend on, and make every experience, every want of yours earned, so that if I do this, I cross this, then it has to be earned. And then you've kept money aside for it, and then you enjoy it, because again, that brings you a lot of peace, and peace is priceless.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every time I sit down with you, every time you do this session, it's enlightening and it's beautiful. Thank you very much once again
Most
to have done this. I'm sure we've impacted quite a few women. I
hope
hope
so.
to see you there for the full day so that I can introduce you to the
Will
attendees
be.
of Careers Day, and we help literally making up for the pay gap that women today are still facing across the globe. There is so much we can do together. There is so much we need to be voices and representatives for the larger community of women here. So, thank you very much once again, Simran, and we'll see you soon.
All the best.